Saturdays back at you guys with another episode. And today we're going over a dedicated episode to the transfer portal. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys, I kind of messed this up as a college football podcast. I didn't get this dedicated transfer portal episode out to you guys earlier. I discussed a lot of these guys that I have on this list as episodes went on when I did different teams. So these guys were discussed, at least most of them. But again, didn't do a dedicated transfer portal episode. And part of the reason is I wanted to wait for it to finish out. Again, we have been getting to you guys with NFL draft episodes. I wanted to wait till the transfer portal really finished out for the most part to make a list like this. So we did our top 10 transfer portal guys, and there's going to be a little bit of controversy on this list. There's going to be guys, if you look at 247 Sports, that were maybe 30th overall on their list, 50th overall on their list. But I don't care. I did this based on impact, experience, how these two things combined into a top 10 list. And like I told you guys, there's going to be a guy maybe outside of the top 100 on 247 Sports list. But again, a lot of those lists really come down to how the prospects ranked in high school entering the transfer portal. Were they 4 stars? Were they 5 stars? Not really based on their college football experience, too. So let's get right into it. We're going to number 10. We're going to Cario Davis. Cario Davis was a huge guy coming into this college football season. He was supposed to be a can't-miss first-round prospect. And I think the situation of Arizona kind of killed him. We kind of expect Arizona to take a leap this year under Noah Fafita, and it really didn't. They weren't as competitive as we thought. Ted McMillan still remained a first-round pick, which I don't know why he's continuing to drop in the NFL draft right now. But Cario Davis decided to take another year, and he goes to Washington. I really like this move because, one, I like Cario Davis staying another year because, again, cornerback is one of the hardest positions to come into the NFL, and he did have a down year. But I absolutely love this guy still as a first or second round talent in next year's NFL draft. You're talking about a guy that's 6'4", 190 pounds that could block a whole entire field. And I just love this guy's physical ability. I mean, you're talking about a guy that's not going to get outworked by any receiver due to his frame. Like we said, a guy with first-round talent going to Washington. Washington, a program that we've seen a complete change like we've never seen before in college football. Like we're talking about a team that was in the national championship 2 years ago, and we knew last year this team was not going to be competitive, not even going to have a chance in the college football playoffs. So them getting a star like this, I really like. I like Cario Davis at 10. Number 9, we are going with Zachariah Branch. This may be a controversial one. When you look at Zachariah Branch, the stats aren't really there. You're talking about 503 yards and a touchdown, but I love him coming to Georgia. I think Kirby Smart is going to use him in ways we haven't seen before. Again, he did play for Lincoln Riley, who is an offensive mastermind. But again, USC, another program that's really been on the down. And Zachariah Branch, I believe, is just super explosive, a guy that I loved coming out of high school, and I just have to keep it on this list based on potential. I think this guy, when it comes to returning, I think he's one of the best special teamers in college football. You could argue the best special team returner. And I really think if you specialize this guy in the slot, give him a bunch of different diverse routes, I really think you can make the most of his speed and agility because I think this guy is an absolute field stretcher. And I really think this is one of those guys that's a projection pick. I don't think, again, based on his college football career so far, does he deserve to be on his top 10 transfer portal list? Probably not. But based on his potential and the situation he's going into Georgia, I absolutely love it. And again, I think Georgia really needs it as well. We look at last year with Carson Beck. They did not have that guy in the SEC that they could go to. Again, had a couple of guys in Trevor Etienne and a couple other receivers like Arian Smith. But again, they led the league in drops. They didn't really have a star on offense that Carson Beck could consistently go to. And I think that's why they fell short. Zachariah Branch could be that guy for them. I mean, we're talking about a legit stud coming out of high school. Again, I feel like haven't even scratched the surface of his potential. Coming in at number 9, we're going with Devontae Ross. Now, Devontae Ross, a lot of people are scared of, again, to put on like a top transfer portal list because he's a guy coming out of Troy. But again, he had over 1,000 yards last season. He had 11 touchdowns last season, consistently involved with 76 receptions in their offense. And I absolutely love the move for Penn State. I've said time and time again with Drew Aller that we have not seen him really have that field stretcher that he could go to on offense in his career there. And we're talking about Drew Aller, a complete stud coming out of high school, a guy that's a projected NFL first-round quarterback, franchise quarterback. We have not seen Drew Allar really be able to stretch the field. And again, a large part of it due to how dominant Penn State's run game is. We're talking about Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, two NFL backs that are going to be returning this year. So again, we may not really see the offense really run through a guy like Devontae Ross. But again, I think it's going to be the most talented wide receiver that Drew Allar had. And I think we're going to see Drew Allar throw the ball more coming into his final year going into the NFL. So I absolutely love this move. Again, something this Penn State offense hasn't seen in a while, a possible field stretcher. And again, Troy really has been producing receivers. They had Tez Johnson that was a transfer to Oregon. And Devontae Ross is the same type of physical receiver as Tez Johnson is. We're talking about a guy that's a very low weight receiver, a small type receiver, but a guy that could stretch the field, consistently evolving the offense. I absolutely love Devontae Ross just because of the impact. Like I said, we haven't seen Penn State really dominate, have a true outside receiver. I think Devontae Ross really could be that if we're projecting him right. Coming in at number 7, we're talking about Malachi Hughes. Malachi Hughes, a guy that I really like coming in Oregon. Malachi Hughes, this guy is what Oregon needed. We're talking about a true top running back, a guy that had over 1,500 total yards, 17 touchdowns, and he comes in as a veteran for this Oregon offense that lost a lot. You're talking about an Oregon offense that lost Ted Johnson, lost Trayshawn Holden, lost Jordan James. They need a veteran experience, and they really need a run game for Dante Moore. We're talking about Dante Moore, a true dual threat quarterback, a quarterback that doesn't have much experience in college football, going into a team with huge expectations. He needs a big back for him, and Malachi Hughes is that. Like I said, he's an experienced runner. He's a guy that has over 2,800 total yards. I think about 3,000 total yards actually in his college football career. And he's a guy, along with Evan Stewart in this offense, that Dante Moore can lean on. I think this run game is going to be even better than last year with Oregon because I think they really patched up this offensive line, which we're going to talk about later in this episode. And I think under Dante Moore, it's going to rush the ball a lot more than Dylan Gabriel did. I think this running game is going to explode. Going into the next guy, we're going into Caden Salter. I think Caden Salter was absolutely huge for Colorado. Now, if we talk about Caden Salter and off last year, again, a guy that people might not put in this list. We're talking about Caden Salter's year last year, 1,886 yards, 15 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. And he also had 587 yards on the ground with 7 touchdowns. Another true dual threat quarterback. And I just really love this move for Colorado because I think you get a top guy in the transfer portal at the quarterback position in Caden Salter. And I think Caden Salter was a guy who left a lot on the table in a down year. We talked about a season before last where he absolutely exploded as a dual threat for Liberty. And again, I think Colorado really making this move shows that they are not done after Shedeur and Travis Hunter. That this wasn't just a Shedeur and Travis Hunter era. They get Caden Salter, an experienced guy that's going to come in for 1 year, and I think it's absolutely going to explode. I think he is going to be possibly the best quarterback, probably 1 or 2, again, in the Big 12. And I think it just shows like Colorado has a plan after Shedeur. You have a guy like Caden Salter that's going to come in for 1 year, and then you have Julian Lewis that's going to be behind him as well. So they really killed it at the quarterback position, and they really killed it for their future. Again, I think Deion's really committed to Colorado, and I think Caden Salter is going to be something very different for Colorado. Like we said, a guy that's more of a rushing quarterback on a team that really struggled in the rushing game last year. I think it's going to be a whole new look for Colorado. But again, I think Colorado has a plan. Now we're going into number 5. We're talking Patrick Payton. Patrick Payton, the edge at Florida State. He was phenomenal, Patrick Payton, when Florida State was really good. We're talking about the undefeated year with Jordan Travis, where this was a team that really missed out on the college football playoffs. Again, we're talking about a defensive and linebacker combo. He goes to LSU, which I think is absolutely a home run for him and LSU. You're talking about LSU having a guy that could be a cornerstone on your defense, a leader on your defense. But not only that, this is a team that's primed to contend with Garrett Nussmeier staying, going into another year. Another guy that was rumored to be a first-round quarterback that could be next year. I think Patrick Payton's going in the right situation for him, as last year was kind of a down year for him compared to the last 2 years. But again, his first 2 years, Florida State was a way better defense than last year. Now he goes into a contending team in LSU. I absolutely love it. Now we're going to number 4, John Mateer. Now, this is a marriage I don't really like. I don't like John Mateer going to Oklahoma. I really wish he would have went to a different program. But wow, Washington State really has been you could argue a quarterback you type of team. The problem is with Washington State, they cannot keep anybody. They gave up the best quarterback in the transfer portal class last year in Cam Ward. Now you could argue they gave the best quarterback in the transfer portal class again in John Mateer. We're talking about 3,139 yards, 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He also adds another 826 yards and 15 touchdowns on the ground. This guy was a guy that had over 40 total touchdowns. He had over 4,000 yards. He absolutely tore it up. Now, the reason why I don't like it, I just don't like Oklahoma as a destination for him. I don't trust Brett Venables at all. I think Brett Venables is really on the hot seat. And again, you talk about a program that had talent at the quarterback position that just couldn't make the most of it. I mean, you're talking about Dylan Gabriel. You're talking about Jackson Arnold, Michael Hawkins, all huge guys that they couldn't make the most of. And I feel like they're just way over their head right now in the SEC. You're talking about a team that dominated in the Big 12 4 years. Go to the SEC, they could barely keep their head on the water. And again, they had coaching changes, had a bunch of quarterbacks coming in and out. But I like the sense of John Mateer getting an opportunity on a bigger stage. That's what the transfer portal is all about. But Oklahoma, again, I'm just not a fan of the destination. Oklahoma in recent years, to me, haven't proven that they could really be a contender in the SEC. We'll see. I mean, great move for them. We'll see how John Mateer does there. Coming to 3, I kind of cheated here. I'm going with Isaiah World and Emmanuel Pregnon, top tackle, top guard in Oregon. I think this was such a huge move for Oregon. They both transfer out of Nevada, out of USC. This Oregon line is just completely revamped, and they had Alex Harkey as well, who I don't have on this list. But again, a revamped offensive line. I think it's exactly what they needed for Dante Moore. Again, Dante Moore, a guy that's coming in that could be a star, but does have some question marks. Again, first-year starter with huge expectations for Oregon. First-year starter for Oregon, obviously starter for UCLA, but this Oregon team has huge expectations. And again, I think it's going to help him a lot, revamp this offensive line. And you lost Connolly and Cornelius, 2 pros, adding Isaiah World and Emmanuel Pregnon, 2 top guys in this transfer portal. I think is exactly what this team needed to patch up the holes. Coming into number 2, we're going with Damon Wilson out of Georgia, a guy that really hasn't shown much, but was a 5-star edge. He transfers to Mizzou. Really just shows how Georgia, again, and this transfer portal NIL deal, people are going elsewhere. Damon Wilson, a full 5-star guy. He goes to Mizzou. I love it for Mizzou. Mizzou lost a lot. I mean, between Brady Cook, Luther Burden, and others, but they get arguably the top guy in this transfer portal based on potential. 22 total tackles. Again, nothing to really talk about. And the year before, he didn't really play. But a true 5-star guy, a guy on the edge, and I think a guy that's going to be a monster this college football season. Home run for Mizzou. And at number 1, we go with Carson Beck. Now, you could hate on Carson Beck all you want. This is a channel that absolutely loves him. Again, I think Carson Beck really had a hard time last year, and nobody wants to talk about it because of the talent he had on offense. He went from Ladd McConkey, Brock Bowers, to a team that really did not have a standout weapon on offense. And I think it was an adjustment period for him. Not only that, everybody talks about Carson Beck like he had this extremely disappointing season. This was a guy that was 8th in QBR in the entire country, top 10 in QBR. We're talking about 3,500 yards, basically, 28 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. This was a guy that was rumored to be first overall pick in the NFL draft coming into last year. Now you get him as the number 1 quarterback going to Miami. I absolutely love it to Miami because, again, how are you going to transition from Cam Ward? They get the top quarterback in the class, in the transfer portal class last year. They get the top transfer portal quarterback add this year as well. Carson Beck, a guy, like we said, he has a huge pedigree. He has so much experience at Georgia. Again, a guy that has NFL first-round talent, and he goes to Miami. Absolutely love it. He's definitely the number 1 guy in this transfer portal class. That wraps up this episode of Sloppy Saturdays. Again, this was a transfer portal class that I believe really was not the best transfer portal class. But again, controversial list. We really like the list we came up with. Again, don't always go over 247 Sports because they have a lot of guys that really were huge high school guys, and they don't really factor in the experience within college experience. A little bit of a controversial list. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we are